This is Carl Johnson of CJ Behavior Coaching and Consulting. Welcome to our podcast. Today's podcast is going to focus on self-awareness. So when we're talking about caring for children, we're talking about caring for children with difficult behaviors. We're also talking about caring for children who don't have difficult behaviors. But one of the most important things for any caregiver is self-awareness. We're talking about self-awareness of a parent, foster parent, teacher, group home worker, shelter worker, nanny, babysitter. If you're caring for children, self-awareness is very, very important. And one of the reasons why self-awareness is so important is because when we have a better understanding of ourselves, we're able to experience ourselves as unique and separate individuals. We're also empowered when we have self-awareness to make changes and to build on areas of strength, as well as identify areas where we like to make some improvements. Self-awareness is also about understanding your own needs, desires, struggles, habits, and basically everything that makes you tick. So if you have that pen and paper and you're ready to write down this question, we're going to start with the number one question we want to ask you about self-awareness. So what I want you to do is to write on your pad or write on your paper this question. What are my buttons? What are my buttons is the first question of self-awareness in this podcast. And we're not talking about your buttons on your shirt. We're talking about the buttons, the things that really bother you, or your pet peeves, the things that irritate you or really frustrate you, period. Or what are the things that frustrate you about children or your child or your particular situation? Is it whining is a button for you? Is it cursing? Is it racial slurs? Is it a messy room? A child refusing to do chores? Is it getting low grades? Running in the house? You have a child who is constantly not telling you the truth, and whenever they lie, it really, really bothers you. Do you have a child, or you work with children who say no often, and it really, really gets under your skin? Those are the things that I'm talking about. So the first question that you're going to write down in this activity for self-awareness is, what are my buttons? So write down all of your buttons, the things that you can think about and things that you can recall. Write those things down on a piece of paper for this first activity. Now, after you write those answers to that question, what I want you to also to write down on your pad is this. Why is this a button for me? Or why are these things a button for me? So you're going to identify the things that are your buttons, and you're going to identify why you think they are your buttons. And what you'll find out, a lot of those things are things from your experiences as a child. Maybe in the home that you lived, or at school, or in the neighborhood. Those things are possibly from the past. So it is very important to know, again, things that are affecting you currently when you're caring for your child or you're caring for children you work with, that things that they're not even responsible for are the things that are really, really frustrating you and are adding to the things that your child is doing now. So again, is your button coming home and there's toys everywhere? Is it your child's room is not cleaned up? Is there dishes everywhere? Those things can add to the frustration of very, very difficult behaviors. So that's your first assignment. I know you didn't think this was going to be a test, so you're going to have work to do, but I'm going to put you to work. So this is the first out of 8 podcasts about self-awareness. So what I want you to do is to figure this out. And when you have written down what your buttons are and why do you think those are your buttons, if you would like to share those, I'm open to you sharing those by email. You can also comment below here on YouTube if you would like to share those things. And then on the next podcast, we're going to talk about our very next very important question. So again, if you have any questions about this activity or anything related to what we're talking about in our podcast, you can always email me at cjempowersparents@gmail.com. Thank you so much for stopping by the podcast today. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, we're on Instagram at CJ Empowers Parents, we're also on Facebook at CJ Empowers. We're looking forward to sharing this information with you, hopefully helping you, empowering you, and answering some very, very tough questions that you probably always had and probably weren't able to get those questions answered. We want to answer your questions. Remember, you have questions, we have answers. Thank you.